Hi there, Sean Kevelighan again with a executive exchange. Triple I recently teamed up with Munich Re on a consumer survey about weather perception risks, and the results are pretty fascinating. And so we're going to go over them today. I'm joined today by Tim Brockett. He's executive vice president with Munich Re America. Tim, thanks for joining us today.
Sean, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Great. Well, listen, it was terrific to work with Munich Re on this. I think we really gained some important insights about homeowners when it comes to weather events. Did you find any of this surprising about the amount of homeowners that actually aren't purchasing insurance?
Yeah. So surprising is one word for it. Alarming is maybe a different word, even better word. I think the survey revealed that 12% of homeowners in the U.S. are not currently purchasing homeowners insurance, and that was, frankly, a much larger number than I was personally expecting to see. I think maybe even more concerning, though, was the revelation that amongst those non-buyers of insurance, nearly half of those had household incomes less than $40,000. So I think that just that certainly points to some of the current dynamics in the industry in terms of rising cost and maybe a feeling that the insurance purchase is discretionary. Obviously, it is not. Considering the impact that insurance has in rebuilding communities and restoring people's lives. But these low-income communities are certainly at risk. Many of these communities are in areas of high windstorm or high flooding. Susceptible to those types of events. So, the question really becomes what to do about it. And there's a lot of conversation, a lot of work going on, within the industry with regard to, community-based insurance solutions, parametric type products that can, tie together some of these risk mitigation, adaptation type measures that communities can take along, and combine it with a trigger that provides, a payout to these low-income communities when something happens and allows them to recover much faster.
Yeah, in fact, Triple I right now is working on a study with the National Institute of Building Sciences, and we're specifically mentioning those community and parametric grants as just new tools that the industry is looking at in order to better target those that may need recovery fastest, and in particular around the lower income side of things. Do you think there are other ways that we can perhaps better inform and or target individuals that aren't purchasing the likes of flood insurance? Because that's one thing that we're finding, that they almost are viewing flood insurance as a discretionary purchase. And as you mentioned, it's really not. But what do you think are some of the ways that we can make sure that these homeowners that are more at risk and the low income individuals are protected? What are some better ways you think we can target that?
Yeah. I'll get to kind of some ideas around how we better educate consumers, but with regard to flooding and flood insurance specifically, the survey had an interesting stat that 64% of the respondents said that they felt like they were not at risk of flooding. And you overlay that with the fact that 90% of all U.S. natural disasters involve some sort of flooding. The stats from FEMA continue to show that around 20% of the NFIP losses involve low to moderate risk areas. There was a study by First Street Foundation which revealed that 14.6 million properties in the U.S. are at risk of significant flooding, and that's 70% more than what FEMA would say is in the special flood hazard areas. So those are concerning stats, and you overlay that with NOAA's estimate of what's going to happen with sea level rise by the year 2050, and the number I think was they anticipate 10 times more risk of moderate flooding by 2050. So the risk is there. It's probably getting worse, and I think you have to assume that we are in a lot of ways systematically underinvesting. I guess I would use that word, underinvesting in our protection against low probability but high consequence type events, and we should ask ourselves why really that is. One is I think it's just simple optimism bias. Humans many humans have a cognitive bias. It's thinking that the negative events are really going to happen to everybody else and not really ourselves, and that's a difficult thing to fight against, not just for flood insurance, but all kinds of insurance coverage. But we shouldn't discount the impact of affordability. When the coverage isn't mandated by a lender and it is a discretionary purchase, choices ensue. And do I buy flood coverage or do I do something else with that money? And that could be difficult. We continue to think at Munich Re a solution to that is particularly around kind of low to moderate hazard flood is lower limits. It's a partial loss peril. There's a way to kind of get enough coverage out there and in the hands of policyholders that make people mostly whole or completely whole after these partial loss type events. And with a low limit, you can keep the premium pretty low. If you can do it as an endorsement, it's not a separate policy, and the administrative burden is lessened, and it's maybe a solution for a lot of the homeowners that don't currently purchase.
Absolutely. No, a lot of great points in there. A lot of good progressive thinking by Munich Re, which we really appreciate. I mean, you're right. The numbers are striking. The problem is large. We need to be doing more to fix these things, in particular around flood insurance. Tim, we always allow the guest to ask me a question. So what do you got for me?
Sure. Yeah, Sean. Listen, I'm interested in your thoughts on what the industry could be doing to make us more, as a society, as policyholders, more resilient to weather risk.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this at III. The industry is shifting itself from detecting and repairing catastrophe to predicting and preventing. And I think a lot more needs to be done about that. What you've talked about here today, just talking about the physical infrastructure resilience as well, and understanding that community and collective responsibility that needs to go into these preventative measures. Obviously, insurance is the first step towards being resilient, but you have to also do more. And again, that comes into under the consumer and the developer and the real estate agent, all understanding kind of what goes into risks of property and looking for ways to help educate and take preventative measures. I mean, when you look at the numbers from our survey, only 4 in 10 stated that they've done any type of work in their home to prevent the disaster in any way. People aren't even doing so far as taking inventories or having an evacuation plan. I think it was about 52% of them said they don't have an inventory, and 48% said they don't have an evacuation plan. So the increases in climate risks are real. They're happening. You've stated some good facts here. So I think consumers also just need to understand there are ways that they can take preventative measures. I mean, if you're living in a hurricane area, you can get your roof tie downs on your house, your shutters. In the wildfire regions, let's make sure we're looking at our landscaping and being responsible about that. We talked a little bit about flooding. There are water detection devices that you can have, or backup valves that you can have. So all of these things consumers can do in this day and age to take more preventative measures, and of course, just making sure that they have the insurance in place as well. But I really liked what you said, Tim, about the community aspect and getting communities more engaged in this, especially around the low income levels, because that is something that we do need to figure out more and more. So, Tim, I really appreciated this project that we got to work on. I really appreciate Munich Re's progressive perspective on this stuff and looking at solutions as our industry can and do. And just appreciate you joining us here today.
No problem. We enjoyed working with you as well, Sean. Thanks.